Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and with me for Week 16 on the waiver wire, round 2 of the playoffs, my best buds, Dbro, Derek Brown, the King of Bros, and my Patty Cakes, who just had another year around the sun. Everybody, wish him a happy birthday in the chat if you have missed the Fitzy birthday. We're going to do a whole birthday month for you, Fitzy. It's going to be fantastic.
Love it.
But hopefully, I mean, some of you still got playoff teams alive. We're recording this Monday night, not one but two NFL games, really making us sweat out the first round of the playoffs. I don't care for it, NFL. Stop doing this to me. I already have no hair on my head. So we still have some games yet to be decided, but regardless, hopefully all of you out there listening, watching on the YouTube are looking ahead to round 2 in the playoffs and looking for more players, and we're going to help you add them because there was a ton of injuries, a ton of football to dissect and reflect upon, including a decision that I just don't understand. And I just want to talk about it with all of you because there's a less than 10% chance of getting an onside kickback. So Dan Campbell's basically telling you in that Lions-Bills game, Pat, I like my chances of getting an onside kickback more than stopping Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. That's what he's telling me. What do you think?
I thought it was an imprudent decision, Joe. I would rather take my chances with stopping the Bills and, stop the Bills and you get reasonable field position. If you don't get that onside kick, even if you do stop the Bills, then they're going to punt and bury you inside your own 20-yard line. And it's just, I thought it was a suboptimal decision.
Yes, that was a very politically correct answer. That was really good. I'm sure a lot of Lions fans have a lot less politically correct answers about it. Dbro, Dan Campbell is like the double-edged sword. He's the reason they're great, and he's also the reason why in these big games they continue to fall short. And I just feel like these games get in his head. We saw it in last year in the playoffs against San Francisco. We're seeing it again. I just don't understand where his head's at.
I mean, I just think we need a better balance of aggression versus rationality.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm not saying like I'm all for go for the fourth downs, like make everything like 4 downs and make the defense have to stop you in 4 downs. I get that. Like some of the calls I think like were borderline like reckless in the sense of, okay, kicking an onside kick with that much time left and you're only down by a score and a field goal. And what we saw the week before that, going for it inside of, that close to your own goal line. That's where I'm like, look, I love Dan Campbell. I'm all for the aggression, but there's sometimes where it's just like, do you really need to do it?
Do you think Dan Campbell forgot that you have to announce it's an onside kick now because of the change of the kickoff rule? I think there's a little bit of chance that he was like, oh, wait, yeah, it's different now. I'm just saying there's a small chance that they got up there, got to line at the decision, and he went, oh, right, they know it's coming. If it had been a surprise onside kick, it was, 2004, maybe I'd feel different about it. But look, I mean, it's splitting hairs. It was just a crazy thing in a great game that was really fun to watch. Whenever you have almost 100 points in offense, I'm entertained. But, man, Detroit is
I agree with like 85% of it, man. It's the problem. It's like when you get to this, like the onside kick stuff, it's like this, it's a similar thing as like, okay, it's 3rd and 1. Should we run a quarterback sneak or run it up the gut, or should we toss a bomb down the field? Okay, let's go for the Hail Mary.
Well, look, hopefully our decision-making process will be better here today.
Yeah,
we're
Joe,
going to help everybody
Joe,
make sure you... Yes.
Oh, I was going to make a quick fantasy comparison with Dan Campbell.
Sure.
Like, Dan Campbell is Campbell's the fantasy manager who's got a really good roster. Dan Campbell's the guy who's got a really good roster and wants to get overly cute with lineup decisions and feel like he's really managing his team. And so he benches A.J. Brown because he's worried about a matchup with Joey Porter Jr. and decides to start Amari Cooper instead, thinking I need upside. And, Joe, we told a few people to keep rolling with A.J. Brown in our live stream yesterday. And you keep rolling with A.J. Brown.
We got so many AJB questions. Many AJB questions in the Discord, dude.
Yeah, look, we were all over it yesterday, and it was live in the chat yesterday too. But look, hopefully we'll make better decisions here than Dan Campbell will make late in games. All right, let's start with the streamer running backs of the week, and there's an opening now in the world of Cleveland because poor Nick Chubb is terrible, broken foot, so he's done. So that means Jerome Ford next man up. Good matchup against Cincinnati Bengals to that defense. So let's talk about it, Dbro. Jerome Ford, your expectations for him in week 16, where you think you might have him ranked. I know it's a little early for that, but is he RB2? Is he flex? Like, what's your confidence level?
He's a low end RB2, and some of the, I guess, like where he falls in that range kind of depends on who do we get for quarterback and what do we get out of quarterback in Cleveland. I mean, Jameis did his not so great Jameis things this last week, and so maybe it's DTR under center, but we all know that the matchup is good. Jerome Ford has been an efficient running back when he's gotten opportunities. I mean, we saw this last week. Terrible matchup, 9 touches, and he got 104 total yards. So, yeah, Ford is the guy that like I really wanted to highlight in this section because it's not only just the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, I know that, you know, the last week of the NFL regular season, he gets the Ravens, but a lot of people aren't playing that in the fantasy playoffs. But the next 2 matchups, Cincinnati and Miami, both really good ones for Ford.
Yeah, they certainly are. And look, Jerome Ford's shown you the ability to catch the football before. He's shown you he's comfortable in the offense. He's not a new guy. He's not fresh and new, and you don't know what to get out of Jerome Ford. You know what it looks like when Ford's been the guy. So it's just a matter of how much workload he gets, and certainly the opportunity looks like it could be a good one for a streaming purpose in Week 16. Fitzy, let's talk about a guy that we've been talking about for a couple weeks now, stashing, and really the numbers didn't climb as much as I think they normally would have. Maybe it's just the time of year. A lot of people who are eliminated not putting in waiver wire claims, or maybe people just not familiar with Sincere McCormick. Now, we'll see what happens in this evening game. But as of right now, looking ahead in theory, Sincere McCormick against Jacksonville also looks like a running back that is worth at least grabbing onto for Week 16.
Yeah, so obviously how he fares against the Falcons tonight is going to affect the amount of fat money that people are bidding with whatever they've got left in the tank. But what we really like is the remaining schedule for Week 16 and Week 17. He gets the Jaguars and the Saints, 2 of the best matchups you can have for a running back. So what's interesting is that Alexander Mattison is expected back in Week 15 for this game against the Falcons, but Antonio Pierce has said he is going to roll with Sincere McCormick. Like, they are auditioning him for a greater role in 2025. So seems like he's a pretty good bet for 15 plus touches. Let's see what he does with them. But if we get encouraging results, I think people are really going to want to spend up to take advantage of these Jaguars and Saints matchups down the stretch.
All right, so there you go. So McCormick, another guy to keep a close eye on. Also, keep a close eye on the most wonderful time of the year for getting all in sports betting. Hoops, football, hockey, you name it. This is it. And DraftKings Sportsbook is all over it with all the action you could possibly handle. So many games every day, so many opportunities to place your first bet. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win or a touchdown, whatever it might be. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and place your bet. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use that promo code FantasyPros. That's promo code FantasyPros for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's talk about a wide receiver. And Fitzy, your Green Bay Packers really stuck it to me last night. I'm not happy about this at all. And Romeo Doubs is back again, folks. The cycle of Romeo Doubs this season of getting picked up and dropped and picked up and dropped. But here we go. Looking ahead to next week, you want to pick him up again against the New Orleans Saints. Why?
Because the matchup is decent. Doubs has like sort of a minimal level of involvement. Like, you can't fully trust anyone in this Green Bay passing game right now, Joe, because the Packers really like to run the ball. They have become one of the run heavier teams in the league, and they are sorting out targets between Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, cameo appearances by Dontavian Wicks, and the occasional Malik Heath or Bo Melton. So it's not a big pie to go around, but Doubs does seem like the one receiver who's fairly consistently involved. Jaden Reed and Christian Watson will have these inexplicable disappearances sometimes. Doubs seems like he gets his 5 or 6 targets, at least, no matter what. He's in a good offense, and the matchup looks pretty good against the Saints this coming week.
Another matchup on paper that might look pretty good is one for a Tampa Bay wide receiver that I was very high on coming into the year, and it just didn't happen. Godwin and Evans just kind of took off. And again, I've been talking about it for weeks and weeks. Baker Mayfield is my MVP. I don't know if there's one guy who's gone out there and done more with less this year and just taking this team by the haunches and going through. He's the Intercontinental Heavyweight MVP. That's what he is. He's the worker title guy. He's that dude who deserves a lot more credit. And Jalen McMillan now all of a sudden might be a guy worth looking at. And I still like this player long-term in Dynasty. I like a lot of the buzz he got in training camp. And here we are now, week 16. Dbro, you think he might be relevant?
I do, and I think it's time for us to stop and give the guy respect. I mean, over the last 2 weeks, he's gotten a 23% target share. He's averaging 67 receiving yards, and he's scored freaking 3 times, man. So, yeah, he's a viable flex play this week. And the matchups moving forward, Dallas, Carolina, New Orleans. Is anybody worried about any of those secondaries? Nobody should be.
All right, let's talk about a quarterback here because Superflex leagues are going to have to be looking because Mahomes, iffy with the ankle. Then you also have got Geno Smith. It's kind of brutal out there. Superflex has been tough this year. It's been especially late. There's been a lot of guys cropping up on the waiver wire, believe it or not. Not always good options, but there is an option against the Raiders next week. You are in on, Dbro. Let's talk about Mac Jones, what you saw yesterday. I mean, obviously BTJ had a big day. So clearly, Pat, you were talking on the live stream yesterday with me on Sunday about, I think BTJ is going to be fine. Just keep leaving him in your lineups. And, I know you told a lot of people to keep him in, and certainly it was a good return. So can we roll that over for yet another week here with Mac Jones?
We can. And I understand people are going to hear the name Mac Jones and they're saying, oh, really? Are we at that point? With all the quarterback injuries and what we've seen, and the bigger part of this is they're playing the Raiders. Their pass defense can't stop anybody. Mac Jones, and to put a little bit of respect on the name, entering Monday Night Football, Mac Jones, QB8 for week 15. Wow. So that's just that. I just got to keep it real with people. Like, I understand it's hold your nose kind of gross, but the matchup is great, and I think he could be a QB1 again for us in week 16
against the terrifying Jets defense, no less. Too. Speaking of the Jets, last week there was somebody on this show that recommended Aaron Rodgers, and it was this guy over here, Pat Fitzmaurice, and it worked out. Davante Adams had himself a day. He ate lots of yardage there for Aaron Rodgers, put up a 30-burger there in most formats. So are we going to roll the dice 2 weeks in a row here, Pat?
Yeah, I mean, if you're one of these Patrick Mahomes, Geno Smith, or maybe Jameis Winston stakeholders, we don't know if Winston is going to be starting in week 16. There is appeal with Rodgers. He's had 2 really nice games in a row. He and Davante Adams are now clicking like they were at their peak in Green Bay. And he's got Garrett Wilson, who maybe gets a squeaky wheel game after apparently being upset that Aaron Rodgers didn't throw a fade that Garrett Wilson wanted him to throw. So weaponry is not a problem, and maybe in a matchup against the Rams this week. I know the Rams passing game was not going full bore last week in that kind of rainy game against the 49ers on Thursday night, but maybe this turns out to be a little bit of a shootout. Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers hearkening back to their NFC North days together and hooking up for a high scoring affair. I do think there's upside for Rodgers. I'm probably going to have him ranked as like a mid-range QB2 this week.
I love hearkening back to things. It's one of my favorite. You like a good harken there, Dbro? You seem like a guy who likes a good harken. Yeah, I bet
especially when it's cold outside. I like a good harken.
Yeah, if anybody's fixing a harken, it's Derek Brown. All right, before we get to the tight ends, the defenses, and the kickers, and the top 5 list for the week 2, if you need a break from the crowded stores, endless gifts, and trying to purchase them and wrap everything, or just done too many shows with Derek Brown this season, you can restore your zen and embrace the natural power of hemp this holiday season with Via. This holiday season, unwind and recharge with Via, whether you're enjoying a quiet evening at home or embracing the festive cheer or maybe hearkening back. Via's premium THC and THC-free gummies will help you find your perfect holiday balance. Via is well renowned for their award-winning THC and THC-free gummies and vapes, THCA flower, soothing tropicals, and calming drops, all crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. And the best part, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the U.S. in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. No medical card required. Dbro, I know you're a fan. After the primer, I feel like, which Via is your best one that you take? You do the Zen one after, or the common?
So they have one that's called Elevate, and it's a low THC. That one's really good after the long days of riding. But also, this Flow State gummy is freaking awesome, man. Lion's Mane, good focus for the entire day. No THC in that one. So yeah, I'm not only we're talking about this on the show, but definitely it's part of the daily routine.
There you go. So make it part of your holiday routine too. With the holiday sale for a limited time, you can get 25% off site-wide plus up to 50% of select items and bundles. And if you're hearing this ad post-sale, you can still save by using the promo code FantasyPros. Again, one word, FantasyPros, for 15% off. So if you're 21 or older, check out our link here on the website to the description are via. Go get your product now and use that promo code FantasyPros this holiday season to bring a little bit more zen into your life with Via. Let's get to the tight ends here. Let's go with you here, Fitzy. Let's start off here. Let's do something smart at tight end.
Yeah, I'm pretty intrigued by what we've seen from Stone Smartt, Joe. Like, he looks really like quick and athletic and rangy to me. Like, he shows pretty good catch radius. He seems faster than the average tight end. Like, he is a pretty pure pass catching tight end. And if Will Dissly misses week 16, in case you haven't noticed, the Chargers can't run the ball anymore. Like, their running game is just completely broken. So I think they're going to have to throw maybe a little more than Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh would like. And maybe Stone Smartt could be part of that down the stretch. I think he's got some intriguing streaming potential for week 16.
How much does Jim Harbaugh want Ashton Genty in the draft this year? He just wants somebody to run the football all day long. All right, from a smart tight end selection to a strange one, Derek Brown, take it away.
For everybody that watching this on the YouTube, Joe grinning ear to ear with these illustrious transitions just has to get
week
put out.
I'm hanging on by a thread.
The first one that you did, you were like,
if you don't enjoy what you do, what's the point of doing it? Not having a good time here. It's week 16. We're in the playoffs. Let's go. Come on. Do 5,000 shows this year. We're coming to an end here. We're getting a little bit of a break, maybe. So I'm plowing through. This is how I amuse myself on the program.
Hey, man. Look, we got to talk about... We got to talk about Stranger Things right now, and I'm going to talk about Brenton Strange. I didn't think we'd be sitting here week 16 talking about Brenton Strange as the tight end streaming du jour, but here we are. And they get the Raiders. Just talked about Mac Jones. Good passing matchup for Mac Jones. Strange last week, doing his best Evan Ingram impersonation, 26% target share, 11 receptions and 73 receiving yards. Now he gets the Raiders, who have allowed the third most receiving yards per game and fantasy points per game to tight ends. Yeah, he's going to be flirting with tight end one value this week.
It's not surprising either that Strange was good with Mac Jones because, when you're the number 2 quarterback, you're working with the number 2s. We've seen this plenty of times. So keep that in mind too. If you're going to see like Carson Wentz maybe play next week, maybe somebody else might get a little bit more involved. It's just something to keep in mind, maybe more of a DFS thing. But when it comes to the injuries we've had at tight end at this point, if that Strange Jones connection is a thing, and it looked like it was at least yesterday in a good matchup, maybe in week 16, it's something to pay attention to. Dbro, let's talk about a streaming defense for week 16. Everyone's trying to eke out every single point they possibly can. What defense do you think can help folks out in this round 2?
We're going down to the bottom of the barrel, and I'm not telling you got to feel great about it, but you just start every freaking defense against the Giants. I don't care who's playing quarterback. I don't care if it's Tommy D, Drew Lock, or heck, if Dayball is going to be under center this week, because we don't know. But we're streaming the Atlanta Falcons against the Giants.
All right, streaming. Well, the Giants certainly, they're a thing. They're a football team in New York. They
exist.
It's bad. It's frustrating too because I'm not a Giants fan by any stretch of the means, but I had expectations that Dayball was actually a good hire. And it seemed like, things were going in the right direction. And it just seems like that one big decision that they had to make, they muffed it. And they just haven't been able to get back on track since. And everything's just literally fallen apart. And that's unfortunate because that's the coaching and that's the leadership of getting the guys prepared. And they just haven't been. Who's going to be prepared in week 16 on the defensive side for you, Fitzy?
Wait, Joe, can we backtrack to this theory you have about backup quarterbacks and backup receivers? Because it sounded like you brought up Carson Wentz. It sounded like you're saying we should maybe pick up Sky Moore for an incoming 100-yard game.
Oh, Dbro's already picked him up, I'm sure, in 3 leagues.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Got him rostered at nowhere now.
No, but we've seen that before, Fitzy. How many times have we seen there's a secondary wide receiver? On a team like the Chiefs, probably less of a thing. But on a team like Jacksonville, where there's injuries and openings, it was kind of that thing also too, where, with the New Orleans Saints quarterbacks, all right, well, Rattler, Hayner, who have they been practicing with? There's no wide receivers out there for this team. Maybe somebody pops off and has a good game. You can't take a lot of risk this time in the season though, but with
You're right.
Strange, it seems like one that you might be able to.
Scout team chemistry is real, Joe.
It is real.
I'm with you
It
on
is.
that. So.
And scout team talent is real too. So remember that, because sometimes it lets you down. That's why they're on the second team in the first place. Fitzy, stick with your homer picks. Go ahead.
we've got a team, an indoor team from the deep south, coming up to northeastern Wisconsin for a football game next Monday night. Temperatures should be somewhere in the 20s, I would expect, for that one. And we don't know who's going to be quarterbacking the Saints. Maybe Derek Carr comes back from his concussion and his hand injury, but really, what's the point of doing that? And if we don't get Derek Carr, I think we're going to get Spencer Rattler, who came in relief of Jake Haener, who the Saints clearly were not too enamored with after his early game showing on Sunday. So, Spencer Rattler, we saw the Packers get their pass rush dialed up against the Seahawks on Sunday night. And Rattler, in his 3 starts plus his relief appearance on Sunday, he has fumbled 3 times, thrown 2 interceptions, and taken 14 sacks. So this is a pretty good
He's
spot.
the one they want to see again.
Yeah, exactly. and he is the preferred backup option here. So things look pretty good for the Packers defense this week.
Dbro, were you getting like a Dr. Evil vibe from Fitzy just now when he was like, it's going to be very cold in Green Bay?
I was waiting for a hairless cat to just jump on his lap.
Yeah. She's like, like it was actually, no, it wasn't even Dr. Evil. It was more like the Emperor in Return of the Jedi. He's like, I'm afraid Green Bay will be quite cold when you get there. I feel like that's kind of the vibe. He is still on a high from last night. You can tell Fitzy he hasn't slept a wink. He was watching
he kept watching all the Sam Howell stacks on
Think
repeat.
about his day. He saw the Lions lose in the afternoon. Then at night, he saw his Packers win. He's looking around. He's like, well, maybe, the Vikings could lose today. Next thing you know, all of a sudden, those Packers are right there in the thick of it. Like, it's a spicy meatball, Fitzy. All right, let's get to the kicker because we have to. Who's the kicker for this week?
Cade York for the Bengals, repped by your Fletcher, Joe.
That's right.
And when
the Bengals were good that one year.
Yes. Cade York, I believe his career field goal percentage on like 37 career tries is only like 73%. So I'm not vouching for the caliber of the kicker. I'm vouching for an offense that has averaged 34 points a game over its last 6 games. The Bengals are just on fire offensively, and that is going to have residual benefits for whoever's kicking field goals and extra points.
All right, so there you go. Another kicker added to the list. Go ahead there, Dbro. Give us the kicker for Week 16.
Chase McLaughlin, baby. He's had at least 16 fantasy points. 16 in 2 of his last 4 games. So you talked about loving Baker. Gotta love the kicker too.
Hey man, Baker's been the real deal. I'm happy that he figured it out. He's a fun player. He's got a lot of energy. I know he had maybe too much swag. Maybe he needed to get humbled a little bit. Whatever it was, he's figured it out now, and it's been great. And look, Tampa does play in a soft division, but regardless, he has done a great job leading this team. This is going to be back-to-back QB1 years for him, fantasy-wise. I mean, what a value he was in Superflex leagues this year.
He's played so good, man. If the Bucs had an actually good defense and they were a 10 or 11 team, I think he honestly would be in the MVP conversation.
But look, they can fix that in the offseason, right? Like, if you have the quarterback, you can fix everything else. But you have to have the quarterback.
OC. Got to keep the OC.
Keep the OC. But look, I mean, it's just a different OC this year, though, too. I mean, look, that's lost Canales last year, and then, this year, new OC. A lot of people were questioning, like, is it going to fall apart the way Geno did? It didn't. In fact, it might have even gotten better in some aspects of the game. Let's talk about the top 5 list for those of you who are running waivers this week in Week 16, round 2 of the playoffs. Fitzy, give us your top 5 that you feel good about rostering this week.
Yeah, I've got Sincere McCormick number 1 over Jerome Ford. Pretty close call. I think you could flip those if you wanted to, but I really like Sincere McCormick's Week 16, Week 17 schedule. Number 3, Kendre Miller. We saw Alvin Kamara leave with a groin injury, and so maybe it's a full dose of Kendre Miller in Week 16 against the Packers. Not a favorable matchup, but if he's getting 20 plus touches and the Saints are trying to hide their quarterback, he could have some value. We'll go with Romeo Doubs at number 4. And number 5, Tyjae Spears. You've got Tony Pollard dealing with an ankle issue, and Spears looked really good as a pass catcher yesterday against Cincinnati.
Okay, Dbro, your top 5 for Week 16.
pretty much in concert with Fitzy here, just a few small wrinkles. But Sincere McCormick, number 1, Jerome Ford, number 2, Kendra Miller, number 3, for all the reasons that Fitzy outlined. I mean, just volume alone, if Kamara misses, he's on that RB2, RB3 cusp. Jalen McMillan, number 4, and Tajay Spears coming in at number 5.
All right, so that's your waiver wire for the week. Remember, the rankings are up for waiver wire on FantasyPros.com. So are all the waiver wire articles and content. So if you need extra help, and of course, the waiver assistant still rocking and rolling. Sync your leagues for free with My Playbook. Download the app. Go to FantasyPros.com/MyPlaybook. Use the tools to find these guys that are available in the rest of your leagues that are still alive. And if you've listened to the show all year, we encourage you, drop a review of the podcast. Leave a 5-star review. It's the season of giving. So give us a couple stars. We appreciate it. The nice review is always a nice way to say thank you for all of those teams that you have that made the playoffs and all of the hours and hours of joy that Pat Fitzmaurice gave you. He deserves it. Give him the 5-star. Not me, and certainly not Derek. But again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Fantasy Bros podcast, wherever you get your pods. And that'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Derek Brown and Pat Fitzmaurice, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.